From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Bursell. This is The Log. A big Monday show. There's always so much to talk about on Mondays. We have to tell each other about our weekends, and there's all the news from the latter part of last week and over the weekend to catch up on, so let's get right to it. First, I want to tell you we are inching closer here, rapidly. Inching rapidly, I guess that's an oxymoron. Anyway, we're heading toward it, and that is Friday, February 4th, the resurrection of Charles Bursell Presents, which I'm excited about. Scripted and improvised radio theater, spoken word, and audio collage by yours truly, the CBP Ensemble, and contributing artists. So says the blurb on the website. So, looking forward to that. And then that following Monday, the first full week of February, marks the beginning of our 4th year here on The Log. We've been doing this thing for 3 full years, moving into our 4th. How about that? With the reemergence of Charles Bursell Presents, we're going down to 3 days a week for The Log, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, repeat episodes on Thursday, and then brand new episodes of Charles Bursell Presents on Friday. So that's how it's going to work out. All right. I hope you enjoy it. I've been really enjoying putting it together, back together, restitching it, bringing it to life, like like Dr. Frankenstein here. I'm breathing life into this old show. A lot of mostly new stuff, a couple of old things, and we're going to go back to, I've been looking through the archives. Oh my gosh, so much fun going way back to the 90s. I had a sort of a prolific period in the 90s when my kids were young. I don't know what it was exactly about that time, but lots of great audio and bits and improv stuff. Some of it kind of dated. Lots of reference to 90s politics, but I think we're going to play them anyway. We'll have to put a little disclaimer. We'll give it a little, give the bit a name, a title. What should we call it? How about Retro Radio? Retro Radio 90s edition. Something like that. That's pretty good. All right, so there's that. Here in River West, the greatest neighborhood in the world, this weekend marked the opening day of Broom Ball. River West Ice Witches Broom Ball. Yeah, you heard that right. Ice Witches. I truly do live in the greatest neighborhood in the world. Here in the neighborhood, just a couple blocks over, we have the River West People's Ice Rink, put together every year by volunteers. Absolutely free of charge, a neighborhood ice rink. It's fantastic. And the Ice Witches had their opening day of Broom Ball. So that happened this weekend. So check out the next big match. Pre-game starts around noon. The ball drops around 3 p.m. If you're going to play, make sure to have knee and elbow pads. There's a fire going to keep everybody warm. Bring your own bottle. Extra firewood is appreciated if you can do that. So check out the next big Ice Witches Broom Ball on Saturdays. Okay. Thanks, River West People's Ice Rink. And in more trivial sports over the weekend, of course, my own Green Bay Packers lost to the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, I love the Niners. I lived in the Bay Area for many, many years, became a great fan, and I really love the Niners. Born and raised here in Wisconsin, though, so when the two teams play, I'm still rooting for the Packers. But once it's all said and done, all those feelings go away. Now I'm just completely on the bandwagon for the Niners. Go Niners. We don't talk much sports here. I will tell you, though, because Aaron Rodgers has transcended sports into the whole world of being a jerk and COVID and vaccine denial and all that crap. So I'll be very happy to see him go. Nobody knows what's going to happen. At the very least, I hope it's not all drawn out. I hope we don't have drama here for the next 6 months. Just go. Go play in Pittsburgh. Go play in Denver. I don't care. Just go. Take your anti-vax garbage with you. Go infect another locker room. Hey, I was watching the game, and I saw a couple times this new commercial for AT&T. They got this woman, right? Every spokesperson has to be like a ripoff of Flo, this kind of quirky, perky spokesperson. Anyway, she's talking with this family about some family plan. I don't know, AT&T. It's a mom and a dad and 2 kids, boy and a girl. And the reason I bring it up, it was really very startling to me. Their faces looked filtered. You know how you see filters on people's pictures online and social media? Their eyes are a little bigger. Their skin is completely 100% porcelain smooth. They just don't quite look natural. And this is the first time I've noticed this in a live commercial. Live meaning, shot live actual people. They didn't quite look real. I had to look at it it was on a couple times, so I had a chance to look at it a couple times. And I'm like, no, you know what? I think they're using technology now. This is new to me, where they're filtering faces just like social media pictures. And it was weird. It was kind of bizarre. The spokesperson, this woman, she looks way too perfect, way too shiny, her eyes are too big for her head. The little girl in the family was especially noticeable. Big old shiny cheeks, these big eyes. It looked like a filtered photo, but this is, live actors on film speaking to each other. We've reached a level that is just weird. If that's where we're going now, if that's the deal, no. We're going a bridge too far. We just can't be having this. Okay, well, let's get to some news here. Like I said, Mondays are always full of stuff from late in the week or over the weekend. First of all, with almost no attention, we hit nearly 4,000 deaths in a single day on Friday. Crazy, right? Just absolutely insane. The daily average is 2152, so we topped the 2,000 mark. 14-day change plus 41%. So, yeah, I mean, everybody wants to tell us how Omicron is declining. And yeah, okay, the numbers don't lie. It's looking a little better. The curve is looking good. But man, 2,100 deaths, the current average. And on Friday of this past weekend, 3,896 men, women, and children reported dead on Friday, as reported by the BNO News COVID-19 Monitor. Lord mercy. Hospitalizations in the United States have reached an all-time high, with nearly 159,000 Americans currently hospitalized. 21,000 people are being admitted each day. Currently, more than 26,000 are in intensive care units. Currently, an average of 760,000 people are being infected with the highly contagious Omicron variant every day. It's nuts. It's just absolutely crazy. And everybody just wants to pretend. They just want to convince themselves that it's okay, that 4,000 people die in a single day. And it hardly gets attention. We've become so numb to it, we don't even want to think about it. Don't even tell me about this. And if I hear the number, it's just going to be meaningless to me now. Whereas the first time we hit 1,000 people in a day, we were just horrified and shocked. When we hit 2,000 people in a single day, we were beside ourselves. And then we hit 3,000 people in a single day, and we're all going, oh my God, it's a 9/11 attack every day. And we were all just absolutely stupefied by this. Now we hit 4,000 nearly in a day, and barely makes the news. And if we do hear about it, we go, well, Don't tell me about this. I don't care. I got to go. I got to go get my pizza. I got to go to the game. I got to hang out at the bar. Who cares? All right. Hey, changing topics. Would you just listen to me sometimes? I really wish I had a direct line into the White House, into the halls of Congress. It should be mandatory listening. You got to listen to the log. Now the big talk after Build Back Better failed and voting rights failed. I was saying it had to be at least 6 months ago, maybe more. I'd have to check the archives and see when the date was. I've been saying all along a couple of things. Don't put everything into one big giant bill. It makes us all crazy. The American people don't get it. They have a hard time understanding. And then the obstructionist Republicans can cherry pick anything they want in that bill, and they can lie about it. And if it's just chock full, which BBB was, just chock full of 30 different items, they can just cherry pick and call it Democrat big spending, and they can pull out all of their little political rhetoric. And it's so easy to oppose, especially when you look at the total price tag. And that's all anybody was ever looking at, was the price tag. It started at $6 trillion with Bernie and the progressives, then it was cut in half almost immediately to $3 trillion. Then it got down to $2 trillion, and Manchin even balked at that. And okay, so number one, I was right. Please listen to me. I was right about not putting everything into one big bill. Make them separate bills. Give me a bill on climate crisis, and give me 2, 3, 4 different bills on climate crisis and how we're going to approach it. Get specific. Give me a separate bill on the child tax credit. Give me a separate bill on family leave, a separate bill on student debt relief, right on down the line. And the advantage then is you're specific. You can get the message out. The people of the country understand what's in the bill. It doesn't have $1 trillion price tag. It's got a number that people can kind of wrap their head around. So there's the advantage. And then the next big advantage is a political advantage, because you bring it to the floor. That's the second part of what I was saying more than 6 months ago. Please, Chuck Schumer, just listen to me once. Because now they're finally getting around to this idea. Maybe they're just behind in their podcast. Maybe they're trying to catch up. Maybe they just heard this. But I've been saying for over 6 months, put the bills on the floor of the Senate and vote on them, and put every senator on the record. And so now they're doing this. Now they're talking about doing this. You got to have a vote. You got to put senators on the record. Every single one of the 50 Republicans is going to be an obstructionist. And then you put Manchin and Sinema on record. They have to put their thumb up or down. And then you run on that. If this sounds familiar, it's because I've been yelling this for 6 months. And they're finally getting around to doing it. At least they say they're going to do it. God knows if they ever get a vote on the floor of the Senate. Put everybody on the record. And then the third element here is, number one, people understand it. Number two, you put every senator on record. And number three, then you run on it. Even if you fail, you run on it. You say, look, what the House of Representatives passed, this great bill that everybody wants. Say it's reduced drug prices, which is like 90% approval, that Medicaid and Medicare can negotiate with Big Pharma, okay? One of the most popular initiatives you're ever going to see. Virtually all Americans want this, okay? So you put it on the floor for a vote. Everybody understands it. The Republicans obstruct. Manchin and Sinema balk. And now you run on that exactly. You go to the American people, because let's face it, this is a campaign year now. This is an election year. It's 22. I know you'll hear pundits say, well, we have a window of time when something can get done. No, nothing can get done. They'll say, oh, well, we have until April when people really start thinking about the election. No. We're in the election year. Screw April. It doesn't matter. We don't have a window. This is it now. So you run on your failures. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but I'm telling you, you run on your failures. You show the American people exactly what the House of Representatives passed, what 48 Democratic senators passed, and what was denied you, American public. This was denied by 50 Republican senators and 2 Democratic senators. They're the ones who put all these votes on the floor, all of them. They stopped you from getting improved health care. They stopped you from getting lower drugs. They stopped you from student debt relief. They stopped you from child tax credit. They stopped you from family leave. They stopped you from subsidized child care. They stopped you from any right direction in fighting climate crisis. These 52 individual people, when the whole country wants this stuff, including the president, the House of Representatives, and 48 Democratic senators. So you vote, and then you run on those votes. You run on the failure, because every one of them will fail. And who knows, maybe 1 or 2 squeak through. That'd be great. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'd be thrilled. But I'm just being realistic. I don't think they will. So now they're doing it. They're talking about doing it. Chopping up the big Build Back Better into separate bills, putting them up for a vote for the exact reason I've been fighting for, to put senators on record and then be able to go to the American voter and say, look, here's where we are. Here's who's for you. Here's who's against you. Run on that. Run on your failures. I swear to God, it'll work. Just listen to me when I say these things the first time. Save us 6 months of heartache. And Joe Biden, my God, he's just no help. That damn press conference he had last week, this part was really galling. It's a right-wing talking point that somehow he's not the bridge builder and consensus builder and moderate that he ran as, that he's this big old lefty now. Well, that's just ridiculous on its face. But he was asked about it in the press conference, and his answer was just bizarre. When he's accused of pulling the country to the left, which he's not, he's everything in Build Back Better is 70, 80, 90% approval from the American people. So there's that. But when he's asked about it by Peter Doocy of Fox News, he says, you guys have been trying to convince me that I am Bernie Sanders. I am not Bernie Sanders. I'm not a socialist. Listen to this. Continuing the quote, I'm a mainstream Democrat, and I have been, and mainstream Democrats have overwhelmingly, if you notice, 48 of the 50 Democrats supported me in the Senate on virtually everything I've asked. Okay, now I want you to listen to this quote carefully, because it may sound like he's agreeing with what I've just been saying for the last 5 minutes. But no, whether he meant to or not, and I think maybe he did, he's implying that Bernie is the problem. Because all in one breath, he bizarrely doesn't blame Manchin and Sinema. He bizarrely blames Bernie. Because all in one breath, listen to this again. He says, I'm not Bernie Sanders. I'm not a socialist. I'm a mainstream Democrat, and I have been. And mainstream Democrats have overwhelmingly, if you noticed, 48 of the 50 Democrats supported me in the Senate on virtually everything I've asked. Well, you hear this, right? You hear the bizarre quality of that statement? As Truth Out points out, let me read the way they explain it. The president's answer is contradictory. In the same breath, they use the same expression I did, in the same breath that he casts Sanders as a non-mainstream Democrat, he implies that it is only mainstream Democrats who are supporting his policies. It's true that Sanders, who identifies as an independent but caucuses with the party, may not fit the mold of a so-called mainstream Democrat by current party standards, even though he has had an enormous hand in shaping the party's agenda. But Sanders has consistently rallied behind Biden since the president's inauguration almost a year ago. In fact, Sanders has been Biden's most stalwart advocate for priorities like the Build Back Better Act. Meanwhile, the two Senate Democrats who have obstructed nearly the entirety of Biden's legislative agenda thus far are conservative blue dog Democrats. So it was just a bizarre answer to an unfair question. The premise of the question is ridiculous, and he gave a bizarre answer. As if to blame Bernie Sanders for the failures. This is insane. It's bizarro world. So nothing has happened to change my mind over the weekend. Democrats, if you want to have any success, progressives generally, independent progressives, lefties, you just got to throw Joe over. It's just done. We're just done now. He's failed. He's tried and he's failed. Yes, I blame Joe Manchin. Yes, I blame Kyrsten Sinema. Yes, I blame the Republican obstructionists. Of course I do. But you can't just blame them, even though they deserve all the blame, but just let Joe off the hook. Joe and the Democrats have to find a way to get things done. And if they can't, we can't continue to just give them mulligan after mulligan after mulligan. So now they got this new idea about chopping up BBB into a bunch of small bills and putting senators on the record in their votes. Okay, good. I hope it helps. I hope it helps you. But I'm telling lefties, you got to get your candidates together, man, because the Republicans aren't going anywhere. The latest thing, this memo, did you see this? The Orange Menace. He never issued this executive order, but he had it all written up and ready to go about how the Pentagon would literally seize voting machines. I think Politico.com gets credit for uncovering this. The executive order would have directed the defense secretary to seize voting machines. The order empowers the defense secretary to seize, collect, retain, and analyze all machines, equipment, electronically stored information, and material records required for retention under a U.S. law that relates to blah, blah, blah. Okay. Plus, would have appointed a special counsel to probe the 2020 election. I'm looking at the date here. Can't find it. But it gave him like a couple months to basically do an audit. So the Defense Department would be authorized by this executive order to just basically take over and stop the election. And gave them a couple months to do their work, which blew past Inauguration Day. It would have kept him in power. Of all the clear coup attempts, this is the clearest so far. Again, it was never issued, but it was in his hip pocket, ready to go. This is through the looking glass kind of stuff. If you're tempted to say, well, the Orange Menace was crazy, but he's gone now, and they took his Twitter account, and he doesn't have the power you think he has, and not that many people, when you poll the American people, they don't even want him to run. None of that matters. He still holds the key to the kingdom there on the whole Republican side of things. And he's not the only one. 3 separate states have proposed strike forces, election police, to search for voter fraud. They've proposed strike forces against election crimes, even though fraud cases remain minuscule, which obviously we all know, right? But it doesn't require any reminding. New York Times, Republicans want new tool in elusive search for voter fraud, election police, reprising the rigged election belief that has become a mantra among their supporters. Republican politicians in at least 3 states are proposing to establish police forces to hunt exclusively for voter fraud and other election crimes, a category of offenses that experts say is tiny at best. The plans are part of a new wave of initiatives that Republicans say are directed at voter fraud. They are being condemned by voting rights advocates and even some local election supervisors who call them costly and unnecessary appeasement of the Republican base that will select primary election winners for this November's midterms and the 2024 presidential race. Well, I think it's a lot worse than that. Are you kidding me? They're basically creating goon squads. This has got intimidation written all over it, and it's got corruption written all over it. Because if they're going to take the lead from their Fuhrer, the Orange Menace, they're going to create this force under state law and give them authority. And before you know it, they're going to be seizing all electronics, seizing voting machines, seizing paper ballots, and doing their own audits, doing their own quote-unquote investigations. I know you don't like it when I use Nazi comparisons and fascist comparisons, but what else can you call this? I'm reading again from the Times. The most concrete proposal is in Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis asked the state legislature last week for $5.7 million to create a 52-person election crimes and security force in the Secretary of State's office. The plan, which Mr. DeSantis has been touting since the fall, would include 20 sworn police officers and field offices statewide. You guys, come on now. This is what we're talking about. These are the Republicans. Here in my own Wisconsin, reading from the Hill, a GOP lawmaker in Wisconsin was secretly caught on video threatening to punch the state's governor and arguing Republicans need to, quote, cheat like the Democrats, unquote, if the party wants to win future elections. In a 27-minute video posted Thursday on YouTube, Representative Elijah Behnke, who took office last April, appears to be speaking to a group of visitors somewhere in the Capitol building in Madison. Behnke, who appears to be unaware the user who posted the video was secretly recording the conversation, at one point tells the group he believes there was fraud in the 2020 presidential election. The group discusses a forensic audit of the election, and Behnke said he was now encouraging people to cheat in future elections, despite receiving pushback on the idea from others in the group. You'd love for no fraud to exist, but it's not going to ever happen. There's always going to be someone that tries to cheat, he said. So I'm encouraging people that have the passion and power to be here, the grassroots, to cheat like the Democrats. So there's so much wrong with this. There's no cheating, there's no fraud, as you and I have discussed and as everybody knows, except for those minuscule, 4 out of 1,000 or 4 out of 10,000. So if this Behnke guy, if he believes it, he's an idiot. And if he knows it's a lie, but he's using it anyway, well, that's just abhorrent and he should be kicked out on his butt. But then he goes to the next step to say, well, okay, if they're going to cheat, well, then we should cheat also. So he accuses the Democrats of something they're not doing, and then that gives him the justification to do that bad thing also. But they're not cheating. Well, okay. Like I said, either he knows that and he's just lying, or he thinks they're really cheating, in which case he's an idiot. Either way, he needs to be out on his ass. And I just bring this story up and others because, and there are 100 more I could name, because these are the Republicans now. Because this is the Republican Party. And you can't be bipartisan, you can't negotiate, you can't play nice with these people. All right, well, let me look at the clock here. Oh my. We are way out of time. Okay. More to catch up on next time we talk. And let's do that soon. All right. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.